Hi, welcome to Penelope's workshop. My name is Jim Gary, and today it's just going to be a short video on how I put some of the brake components back together on the rear drum brakes of my 25-year-old Workhorse motorhome. It's a Class A motorhome. I've been doing a lot of videos on the suspension and brakes as I get this thing ready to put back on the road. So I'm pretty excited because I'm getting close. Remember, I'm not a mechanic. This is a hobby for me, and I'm just showing you how I do it, not necessarily how you should do it. If you have any doubts at all, you should see a professional mechanic. Let's get on with the video. I'm getting ready to reinstall the brakes on the right rear. So these are drum brakes. A lot of younger people may have never had to deal with them before, but when I was a kid, that's all they had. Disc brakes were pretty exotic, and now disc brakes have kind of taken over. My Workhorse chassis has drum brakes on the back and disc brakes on the front. So we're dealing with the drum brake on the rear. And there's a few parts to this that I really need to get clean, make sure it works well. The dirt on some of these parts doesn't really matter. And I'm doing this one while I still have the other side untouched, so I can refer to it in case I get confused. This is the brake adjuster, and it's critical that it work smoothly. And this one seems to be working pretty well. It turns freely, but I'll clean it up. And these go into the cylinder, the brake cylinder. So this is the hydraulic cylinder. So brake fluid flows in here under pressure, and it spreads these outward. And I'll have a new one of these, a new cylinder for this, but I'll get to that later. So I'm not going to clean this. So I use a degreaser from a company that sells paint and other things that I like. A friend of mine just gave me this. It's a damp rid thing, but it's nice because you can put this in it, and then your spray, when you clean stuff, the goop goes down in the bucket instead of all over the place. So I'm going to move things aside a little bit. And I'm going to clean these because these, I know they go into the brake cylinder, so they need to be cleaned. And I'm not going to make you sit through all of this, but just to give you an idea. There it goes. So I'm just going to get it wet, put it down in there. Here's the other one. Get it wet, let it sit. Anyway, I think you get the picture. So I'm just going to be using a wire brush and getting all the gunk off. If you watched the earlier part of the video where I'm disassembling the brakes, you'll know that I had a heck of a time getting the drum off the right side. I ended up having to cut it off with a grinder. Automatic brake adjuster, I think it had bottomed out, and I had to take it apart in order to free it. So anyway, it's really easier if you put these in the vise. Get a good grip on the smaller parts. Never going to be perfect, but the part that matters is in good shape, and that's this side because that's the part that goes into the... So just a couple of last pieces here. Then I'm going to rinse everything off. I've got them all in a tub. Rinse them off good with water, and then I'm going to give them a light coating of WD-40 or something just so they don't rust. So after I washed and dried all the parts, I sprayed them down with brake cleaner. Here's a mock-up of the rear drum brakes, and I just laid it out to make sure I had all the parts, and then I figured out how things go. So the brake shoe, I'm using the old ones just for the mock-up. I'll put the new ones in when I change them. Here's one brake shoe, and here's the other brake shoe. And this spreader here goes from one brake shoe, and then it goes to this parking lever, and this connects to a cable, the parking brake cable down there. Here's the wheel cylinder. These things go in there and they connect. They've got slots in them, so they connect into here. Here's the springs that hold the shoes on. This part here, here's the self-adjuster, and this is the lever that causes the self-adjuster to invoke. And then we've got springs. I've just got them laid out where they're going to go, roughly. But here's where they all go. The spring goes onto this clip here. This spring will go around here. This spring will go around this hook here, and a few things like that, but it's all pretty simple. So I'm going to take it apart and take the back plate out to the RV and attach it. The next thing I need to do is get this parking brake cable put in. So it comes through a hole on this side, and there's a little fitting here that snaps in. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in now. It's hard to get out, so I suspect it's going to be hard to get back in. Well, that part was easy. I'm starting to get it figured out. I've got vice grips kind of firmly attached here, and I can grab this and pull it so I can expose that bare wire there. And that wire is what needs to go inside this hook here. So So this would be like that, and all I have to do is get that wire bared and this hooked under it. Just not sure if I can do it by myself or not. One thing that I learned is that the linings are asymmetrical. The shoes are exactly the same, but the lining, this side it ends lower down here, and then there's about 1 inch of space that doesn't have any lining. If you look on the other side, the other shoe, the lining pretty much goes all the way up. So this has a longer lining. And it turns out that the one with the longer lining goes to the back end of the vehicle, and the one with the shorter lining here goes to the front end of the vehicle. So when I was putting the brakes together, I omitted a spring. So this is the parking brake lever, and between it and the brake shoe, there's supposed to be one of these springs. They're called wave springs. And this is the one that was in there originally, and here's the ones that come in the, if you buy a brake spring kit for your disc brakes, you'll get these in there. Anyway, I just didn't see it, and it slipped right past me, so I didn't know about it. So that goes in first, and then you flip it around, and then put in the circlip or the C-clip on this side. There. And all that does is it gives this a little bit resistance from moving very much laterally. Before I put in the brake shoes, there's some contact points. There's one here, and one down here I want to clean. I'll do the other side while I'm at it. A little bit of 400 grit sandpaper. Not a whole lot, but just to clean them off. And then I'm going to put a little dab of anti-seize on each of those contact points under the shoe. So a little bit there. Just barely enough. A little bit there. And on the other side here, here. Just a little bit. And now I'm ready to put in the brake shoe. So I've got the pin sticking out from the back here. Get my finger on the pin. And the shoe I've got partially supported by this bungee cord. Then all I should have to do is insert the spring in there and jam it in, and then turn it 90 degrees, and it should click into place. It sounds easy, but I know it's not easy because I've done it before. So I'm going to come back when I've got it done. So there's the pin, you can see it there. And there's the cup that's attached to the parking brake in this case. And here's the top cap with the spring. So now we're going to put the pin vertical. I'll grab the cap by the pliers on the outside edge again. Got my finger on the pin in the back. Push it on it, turn it 90 degrees, and she's in. It's that simple. So the trick is to grab the outside of the cap with the pliers, hold the pin in the back, push the cap in, and then you can turn the whole thing 90 degrees so the pin can come out of that slot. So I had to rig up the brake shoe just because I couldn't hold it and maneuver around the camera and everything all at once. But let's see, here's that arm that goes down, and it actually engages this self-adjuster. There's this little piece that goes on top, and that acts as a hinge for some other springs. So this just has to slip into here, and then this cup has to go on. Try it with a pair of pliers. Ha! Got it! So now I can remove all these bungees. We can start putting the rest together. Next, I've got to get this little piece in. Remember, this is the fulcrum for a couple of springs. So it took a little fussing around, but I got that little lever in there properly. In next. There. Here. This came out, so I gotta try to get that back in. There it goes. This has to go under it. Okay. These little guys are ready, those little pistons that go into the cylinder. Try to put this bottom piece on. This is the adjuster. That's on there. So here's the adjuster lever, and it's supposed to hit on there, so that's correct. Now, one thing I left out was the spring, and that goes between this plate. There she goes. So that just is the return spring for that lever. And this spring, I'm looking at my photograph, goes across. So it hooks into a hole on the brake shoe there. And then I just have to get it over into this hole. And that's probably the hard part. But let's see if I can get it done. So I'm going to take the adjuster out. See how close I can get the brake pads to be. And then I'll try putting the adjuster in afterwards. Oh, that's much closer. Might work. Aha, it did. So that spring is in correctly. So now can I get the adjuster in there? Okay. There she goes. So the next thing is I've got to get this up over this. At the same time, I keep this in place and manage those two little pistons. So that'll be fun. Let's see what we can do. Get this in. And again, I've done this with small cars, but I've never done it at this scale. Let's see if I can slide this piston in. Get it in the slot it belongs in. That worked. Same thing with this side. Sorry if my hands are in the way. There's just no helping it. There. Almost. There it goes. Okay, so both of those pistons are in. Now the big problem is this spring. Or this piece needs to just slide around. There it goes. Then this spring has to go in here and up, and then it's got to go over this piece here. Almost. Very close. They make a special tool for this. I just don't have it. Ah, I didn't need it. Look at that. That spring's in. That's incorrect. This is correct. Got the little side spring in. We got the two cups in. Got the bottom adjuster in. So this spring here actually goes in here. And then it has to be pulled over this hook here. So I'm going to try to do that real quick. And then we'll put the last spring in. Let's see if that'll work. Ah, that did it. Look at that. She's in. It's funny, you know, I tried this a few days ago before I took a trip to Minneapolis. And I laid out here for 4 hours. I couldn't get it anything to go. And then suddenly, the right attitude, it worked. So I got one more spring. I'm going to move the camera around so you can see it better. So what I've got to do now is get this spring. It goes over this hook here, up in that corner, and it goes in here. So that doesn't work too hard. I think I can do it the same screwdriver trick I just did. I hope I can catch it on the camera without my head being in the way. Problem is I've got the shoe right up against that, so I couldn't even get it around there if I had to. Let me see if I can work that out. There we go. Okay, so it's just a matter of pulling this down where it goes. There we go. Let's see. There we go. There we go. So that spring's on, so all the springs are in their proper location as far as I can tell. Got both pistons in. Still got to worry about this. So the last step is I got to put the adjuster where it's supposed to go, which is in the back. So I've got it on there wrong. So I've got a little auto screw here. Separate the shoes without having everything fall apart. Make it just a little more out. There we go. Now I can slide it on where it's supposed to go. Okay. There we go. So now that's where it's supposed to be. So now when you apply the brakes, that'll cause this to ratchet one time. You hit the parking brake. Anyway, that's it. We're good. So the next step will be putting the drums on, which I'm not going to do for a while because I still got to put the new bearings in the drums, but just double checking. I've got my original diagram, so let's check it. So this is the top. There's the old brake cylinder, and there's that big length that goes there. There's that little piece in the back. There's that spring. There's the little side spring. So it looks all correct. Everything looks like the way it's supposed to be. This is a wrap-up of the brake assembly video for my 25-year-old Workhorse chassis-based motorhome. It's part of a series where I've been going over the rear suspension and rear brakes of that motorhome, and you can see those other videos linked in the description below, so please take a look at those if you're interested. The next video in this series should be the reassembly and reinstallation of the hubs and the rear brake drums of my motorhome. So you can expect that in a couple of weeks. So anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.